Welcome to the Sales Whisperer Podcast, Session 7. Let's get social. Welcome, everybody. This is Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, and today I am graced with the presence of Coach Deb. What's up, Coach Deb?
Aloha, Wes.
And everyone, I'm at an advantage today because I'm doing a video, as I usually do. Use Skype, I use call recorder and record it. And Coach Deb does not have her camera working for some reason, so I can see her and she can't see me. And if for a nominal fee, I told her I won't publish the video of her hanging out at home.
Like blackmail.
With her new bangs that she wants to grow out before she goes public. I've got the video. So you better be nice to me.
Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to give good stuff today, aren't I? Otherwise,
right.
You're going to have blackmail.
You have
I don't
to deliver
like this.
it. Well, so I have in my hand here the Twitter revolution. This is when I first heard about Coach Deb. Way back. When did you write this? 2008?
It's either 6 or 8. I think it was 6.
Nope, copy. Well, maybe, I don't know if you did a second edition. Copyright 2008.
Yes, you're right. The first one was 2006, but that was Secrets of Online Persuasion. That was the first book, and then that Twitter Revolution was the second book, and I'm a little late in getting the third book out.
Hey, well, you know what? You've got 2 out, so you're one up on me. And the one I wrote, I was late on that, but hey, at least I got it done, right?
That's right, exactly.
So. I met you, and so this was the cool thing, right? So your book is out. I read the book. At the time, I was actually doing some work with a friend of mine, had an IT business, and he's friends with one of the co-founders at Twitter. I actually they were doing all the IT work for them. I was up there, met the founders, and got pictures in the office and all, and that was like, I don't know when, 2010 maybe. So Twitter was popular, but it's gotten even more so. But then I met you actually at an Infusionsoft conference. They did one there, 4 city tours down in San Diego, and right. I recognized you. And I said, "Hey, can I get your autograph?" And you said no and walked away, kind of snooty.
I gave you the hand.
No, we got a picture together. You had this lovely blue dress. It was just fantastic, and your bangs looked fantastic then too. So
long ones.
So you've had a varied career, and I wanted to jump into all of it really. How'd you write a book? How'd you write a second book? How'd you get started with social media? I want to talk about, obviously, your coaching business. Before we turn the recorder on, we were talking about how you kind of have this Be Everywhere relaunching of the Coach Deb brand, if you will, right? And even your Quansai. So we got a lot to talk about. But when we started the show, you started with Ola, right? Because I think I remember when you wrote this book, you wrote it, you were living in Hawaii, right?
Yes, yeah. Aloha is still my, I like it better as a greeting. Hi, hello. It just doesn't really cut it. Aloha has such and there's a lot of meaning behind the word. So yeah, I've adopted it. I was there for about 7 years, North Shore of Oahu. And I love it. I love the spirit of it, but I needed a little bit more of the mainland go energy. So I came back to the mainland, and I figure San Diego is the perfect compromise between New York and Hawaii, because they still have the go, but they're still chill, like on the island feel. So yeah, I'm back. And one of the things you said earlier, Wes, that when we ran into each other, that you recognized me, even though we hadn't met before, because of the book, because of Twitter. You see the name, you see the brand, you see the moniker. And that's really what people want to do when they're involved with Twitter and Facebook and all of the social media outlets, whatever it is, whether it's Pinterest, Google+. It needs to be your face consistently all over, the same brand consistently all over, and really having that moniker or something for them to remember, like Wes, the Sales Whisperer. I mean, I will never, every time I see your name, even if it says Wes, I will always think of you as Wes, the Sales Whisperer, because it's a perfect brand that pops out and you remember it. Whereas people that just try to go by their first and last name and try to brand that, unless they're spending millions of dollars in branding their first and last name, It's just not memorable like a moniker like the Sales Whisperer. It tells me what you do. It gives me an emotional feeling when I see that. And people connect to you on such a much more profound level, and they remember you, even if they don't see you in 2 years. Like, when with the book, writing the book, running into you at the conference, or I kind of took a sabbatical and then I came back and I'm like, all right, now I'm going to do a media blitz with the Coach Deb brand everywhere. And, some people are like, oh, you're back. Other people, they don't even realize I was gone. They still have the messages in there. So, that's probably one of the biggest things that I try to get in the minds of small business owners that don't have huge advertising budgets, to brand yourself and do it in an emotional way. Somehow get your brand, your company, what you do, and tie it into an emotional feeling that will trigger the heartbeat of your clients or your prospects that are hearing you.
So let's talk about the beginning of that, right? So your book. Who nominated you as the Twitter expert, right? What senator or congressman passed a bill and said, Coach Deb, you're the expert, so you should go write this, but we anoint you as the should-be author on Twitter. So
yeah, it was the fans. It's funny because right before we got on the call today, we were talking a little bit about how I embedded myself in this becoming a regular guest media interview on the news, right? And it's the same thing with Twitter. I just got on Twitter. First of all, I really was an avid user. I loved it. I didn't just talk about it and teach it. I really loved Twitter. I loved using it. It was a fast way to communicate with a bunch of people, with my clients, with their clients, their friends. And then it just expanded my network in such a profound way, especially since I was on the island of Oahu, where there was a limited number of people, especially a limited number of business entrepreneurs and women business entrepreneurs. Whereas Twitter, I could reach out and see so many more people and communicate with people and share ideas with people that had similar interests, had like mind, and were in a similar industry. So I just started using Twitter as a channel. And then because I used it a lot, people would just start going to me for questions. So I just became the go-to person for all things Twitter. And then that motivated me to learn even more. And at the time, I was teaching my clients how to brand themselves, how to set up blogs to get traffic for them to get leads. And blogging was the hottest thing. That's why that's the first book that we wrote right before Twitter Revolution. And what I found is Twitter was blogs. It was just microblogging. It was the same thing, but it's getting your message out very quickly, concisely, and then it was linking to your blog, which was great for SEO purposes. And at the time, that was the hottest thing, search engine optimization. These days, it's SMO, which is social media optimization, and that's why people need to just dive in, use all things social media, because that is what will get them ranked high in the search engines on Google. So I basically just got into it by default. I liked the channel. I liked the tool. I connected with people. And then they were basically the ones who said, you're the Twitter queen. Like and if you're out there really branding yourself, your fans will anoint you what your expertise is. Probably like the way you became the Sales Whisperer. It's like you were teaching people how to do sales, but you're doing it in a way that was different from everyone else trying to, bark at you and interrupt, right? Marketing and advertising was all interruption marketing before the 90s when Seth Godin wrote that permission marketing book.
Right.
And that was really the launch of social media as we see it today. It's all permission based.
So you brought up an interesting word. I feel like I'm kind of up to date, right? I mean, I'm with things. I can honestly say I've never heard the word SMO.
Yes. This
is brand new, or am I living under a rock?
No, it's really new. It's coming out. It's basically the hallway chatter that we have with other experts in our field, other coaches, other consultants for internet marketing. It's just that we study what Google is doing, how they're ranking people, and you'll notice SMO coming out more and more because it's just how the algorithms are working now. Like Google is now ranking you high for conversations that are happening right now instantly on a social network. So Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube is huge, Google Plus. So those are the channels that Google goes to find out what's the conversation that's happening around the keyword that people are searching for right now. So say they're searching for a realtor that sells luxury homes. They're going to type that in. And if you've done your job on Twitter and put your author little blurb, your narrative there, same thing with LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you have that author narrative that says you're a realtor that sells luxury homes, whether it's San Diego, Miami, North Carolina, wherever it is, you put where it is, what you do, and who you are, and you'll be found in the search engines at the top above your competitors, especially if you're using the channel and you have current conversations that are happening. That is what will come up because Google will tie in who you are on your Twitter profile along with your conversations that are happening real time. Again, this is this whole search engine, search engine revolution that's happening right now this year. So it's exciting. Right now it's exciting. That's probably why I've come back and I see that there's new things to talk about and new things to teach people. So I'm like, all right, I think things have been pretty static for the past 2 years. I'm like, if I'm not needed to teach something that's going to happen or predict a trend, I'm just not interested in being there, right? I only want to be there when there's new exciting things to talk about. And this is an exciting time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So it is a new term, so don't feel bad.
All right, cool. So you heard it here first. At least I can say I heard it here first. How about that?
Awesome. Yeah, I would bet 99% of your listeners have probably heard it here first, unless they're in the business.
Cool. So, I consider myself, decent at social media. I've been using a lot of it for a long time. I was a very early adapter of LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I even got on MySpace back in the day, I think 2004, because that was hot back then.
Yep.
So I've got all the usual goodies.
Right.
But I consider myself a typical entrepreneur as well, right? I want to create good content. I want to go do what I do and not work or game the system, right? So how can mere mortals that don't want to spend all day every day or spend a lot of money subbing this out? I mean, how can we use social media to have a positive ROI and not suck the entire life out of us, on this SMO?
Right. I think the biggest thing is just use it in real time when you're inspired. When you have a thought that matters in your industry that can help, get your phone, tweet it out. Again, if you've got Twitter saved in your contacts as Twitter, and it's 40404, right, and you link that up with your Twitter profile, all you do is you get your phone, just like you were to send a text to your favorite person or your mom, and you send a text out, boom, it's the same exact thing, except this time when you text Twitter, it gets blasted out all over the place. So just do it when you're inspired, do it when you're, some downtime. You know when I used to tweet the most, Wes, when I was in Hawaii?
Yep.
When I was coming back from a tennis match at Turtle Bay, I'd be coming back and I'd be starving. I would pull over at Subway because, hey, that's, the good diet thing according to Jared, right? He lost all this weight. So, hey, that's good diet.
Eat these big bready sandwiches and you'll lose weight. That is marketing, right?
Marketing at its best, right? Well, it worked on me, and I'm pulling into Subway. Figure it's fast, but yet it's supposed to be fast food, but it's healthier than typical fast food. Sure. Well, in Hawaii, nothing's fast. And it would take 15 minutes, Wes, for them to make me a 6-inch sub. 15 minutes. And from New York, it takes you 5 seconds.
That's how I feel about In-N-Out. I call In-N-Out in and eventually out. But anyway.
Yes. It takes forever. It's not really fast, right?
Yep.
So I would be waiting in the subway line, and I'm waiting. And so in order to not get impatient and, tap my foot, I would just get on Twitter and I'd have conversations. I'd go back and forth. I'd catch up to what people were talking to me about. And typically there were dozens of messages in there because I was just playing tennis for 2 hours. So, you're away from your phone, you get the withdrawal shakes, and then I would catch up online for Subway. So you don't have to do this in a way that is inconvenient. You do it when you have downtime. And there's right around the holiday season when people are Christmas shopping or Hanukkah shopping, they are out there and they are waiting on lines, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a perfect time to do it. I won't say do it at a stoplight because that is illegal, but I'm just saying there's a lot of downtime that we have that's when you use social media. Don't feel like it's a burden. Use it in conjunction with your everyday activities.
So what were you talking about adding Twitter as a contact?
Oh.
Are you texting to Twitter? I mean, I just have a Twitter app on my iPhone, so I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe I'm spoiled.
Yes, I have a Twitter app, and I will use that. But sometimes, like, you can't get Wi-Fi connection, or the sending the text out, or it'll glitch out. So I would just go into Twitter on my phone. I have them as I can just send a text out. And what I found is I'm at a conference and I can't get on Wi-Fi or internet with the app. I can, however, guarantee send a text out and it will update my Twitter profile. So,
cool. And it's what, 40404?
I believe that's the code. What you have to do first is just go into Twitter and say, turn on my phone, and set it up. You enter your cell phone. It triggers your cell phone with a code. You then type that code in and boom, you're all set. And it'll say 40404. And what I do is I just go into my contacts. I save that as Twitter. Yeah. So now anytime I want to send a message, I send it to Twitter, type it up. And I know pretty much the space. It's like no more than 4 lines on the iPhone and not 140. But you could also turn on your character count on your phone so you know exactly how many characters you've typed so you don't go over.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah. And another little tip there too, Wes, is for people that want to be retweeted, keep your tweet under 120 characters, and then you'll be retweeted with their username.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm taking some notes here as we go. Keep it under 120?
Yes. That way they could retweet it, have their name, their username in it. Yeah. Instead of using the full 140 limit, just use 120, and that leaves them room to retweet it, that has their username in it. And then it gets the entire tweet out.
Isn't that crazy? So we go from 1,000-word blog posts to 300-word blog posts to 6-second videos, right, on Vine. And now we got 144 characters is too much. Got to do it to 120.
Right. And Wes, I think that's probably why I loved Twitter the most, because anytime I'd have to blog, I'd have to come up with prose, an introductory paragraph, a conclusion paragraph, and then in the middle have 3 paragraphs in between, and it takes time. So, it would often take me a week just to get one blog post to really get something of substance. So you're talking about 5 to 7 days that your clients and leads are waiting to hear from you and be top of mind. Whereas Twitter, the way I've described it best, is all it is PR. It's being top of mind in the minds of your clients, prospects, leads. And that way they see you every day. And then when they need your services, they call you over anyone else because you're top of mind. I just got a gig recently by a realtor that actually sold me the house in Hawaii. And she was thinking about hiring a social media strategist and someone to train her realtors. She has a coaching club. And she noticed that I was doing the TV show. And she's like, what do you know? Like, I know her. I can have her do this. So here she was doing searches. I come up. She knows me. Boom, business gets done. And that's how you use social media to get leads and prospects. You just keep sending it out, attract people. Keep yourself top of mind, keep those communications going, those small, quick touches for people that you know. And then they know you're the person that has value, that has expertise, and they like you. They like you, know you, trust you, hire you. And that's just how it's done.
So let's go back for a minute because on writing the book, I want to spend a little time on that because having finished mine on Infusionsoft last year and then updating it again earlier this year, for me, it's a source of pride, but it's a big source of credibility, right? The word is getting out. Now I've got people coming to me to co-brand the book, with their content, and the rights and negotiations there is quite lucrative, and exciting. But I know, almost anybody I talk to has a book in them, or they say they want to write a book. Everybody has a book in them, right? But they say they want to write a book, but they don't. Yeah. And I know I put it off for a while, and I don't recommend this for everybody, but I just made it public, right? I went to InfusionCon in March of 2012 with little postcards made up and pushed it out there and said, hey, July 4th, Independence Day for business owners. I said I was going to have the book out, and I missed that date. but I pre-sold the book, and just those pre-sales, and it wasn't very many, like literally a handful.
Right.
But I didn't want to refund their money. It was like a pride thing, right? And so I was late, but I finished it.
Right.
So I'm not saying everybody put their butt on the line like that, but how did you write it? And your first, your second, do you have tips for people to kind of inspire them? Because it's the new business card, is the way I see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just nailed it right there, Wes. I think writing the book, that first book, was the best thing I ever did in business for marketing purposes. You are instantly an expert. Plus, what's funny, Wes, is when I first started in business, I had to get all of the, first you have one client, and usually it's someone you barter with or someone you give such a deal to so that you get that one client, you get results with, and then you get the next client. And then you get 3 clients, and you get testimonials, and you get people that they can call and reference. And in the beginning, first year, 2, it's hard because you've got to prove your value. You got to prove your worth. You got to prove your expertise. You have to prove that you could really help people. Once you start helping people and you've got dozens and hundreds and thousands of testimonials, I had this site that just people would scroll down testimonial after testimonial. And the best thing, you have pictures attached with it or a video attached with it. But in the beginning, every proposal I would do for a new client, I would have to include the proposal, obviously what we're going to do, the results, the breakdown, what the investment packages would be, and then it would be a list of references. Well, once you write a book, I was never, ever, ever asked again for any of that because they had already read the book. They saw how much value I already gave them with the content in the book, and they're like, oh, I've got to hire her. The other thing that it did, so that was an interesting, it was a recent discovery because recently it was a client that hadn't read the book and they're like, okay, they asked for the specific things, list of references, all of that. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I haven't had to do that in so long. I had to go back and dust off my reference list and give it to them. The other thing too is having it online helps too, and people can do a Google search. So I think that eliminates a lot of that. You also have LinkedIn where people get references right there real time. But the other thing that it did, it was a business card. And I just got into business with a new partner in Vegas. People think of her as my sister because she and I look alike, but we're not. So, but we're very much sisters. And that friendship and that business partnership started 7 years prior because I went to a conference. And instead of giving her a business card, I gave her my first book, The Secrets of Online Persuasion. And she then gave it to her business partner. They read it, and then it sat on the shelf. And every time they see their bookshelf, they have me as top of mind. And not just me as an arbitrary business coach, but as an expert, as an author, because I wrote a book that had substantive value, right? And I wrote it not just to talk about social media, or at the time, all it was called new media. Social media wasn't even a term that was coined at the time. But I wrote it so that it would be timeless. Like right now, you could pick up that book and it's still just as relevant, if not more, because back then it was before its time. People weren't ready for it yet. It was just the trendsetters, the people that were not only early adopters, but literally the people that set the trends, right? So now people are finally like, oh, blogging, using the internet and getting blogs up and websites and using social media and new media. Okay, this really is a thing for my company. And now they're doing the search and then it's coming online. So my book actually sells more now because people are actually looking for it. Whereas before it was only if you were in the industry that you knew it. But that has been the best business card to this day. And I think you also asked me why or what the impetus it was to write it. And you said you put your butt on the line. I highly recommend that. For me, the sense of urgency was wanting to write the book first on new media marketing. So Secrets of Online Persuasion was the first book on new media marketing that was published. Then I wanted to write the first book on Twitter marketing, and that was Twitter Revolution, and that was the first book published. So that for me was motivation. Otherwise, like I was telling you earlier, I like to be there and predict the trends. So my third book, it just hasn't come out yet because there's just not that sense of urgency to be first in something. So I think that's probably when that third book will be written. I have a lot of the content that's written just as how social media has changed, some of the other influential things that you need to do for psychology and persuasion. But there hasn't been until lately, and I think SMO is the going to be my motivation. to write that third book. So that's just me. I think I learned in marketing that you need to be first in things. And I was like, well, I'm a marketing consultant, but they've been doing marketing since the 50s and advertising, since Mad Men days, right? I'm like, I can't be first at this. So my question, Wes, and I think that's what every listener can write down right now, not just the tips that I'm sharing, but the questions that motivate us. And the question is, how can you be first in your industry? Or how can you be different than all the others in your industry? How can you stand out? That's the biggest question to get you, to motivate you to write your book, to get it out there and be different than all the rest. Because that's what's going to get your book read, and it's going to have you stand out in the minds of your leads and prospects, and they will call you first before they call anyone else, and they probably won't even have you in the list of comparison. They will just hire you because they are so compelled, because you've demonstrated value so strongly in your book, in your written material, in your tweets, in your Facebook updates, in your LinkedIn, Google Plus, all of that. You've established that value so strongly that they just call you up and say, I need your services, and it's done.
So I've got your Twitter revolution. This was Xenopress. So, I mean, do you have any advice on using regular publishers versus print on demand or self-publishing? Because mine I use through Amazon. Mm-hmm. Partly because it's a software book, and I'm committed to. I've already updated it once. Twice a year, I have to update it,
right,
to stay current. And so I didn't see a viable way to do that affordably going through publishers. So, do you have pros and cons or recommendations on that?
Yeah, I used my first book that I co-authored with my business partner was published by Morgan James Publishing out of New York. I liked that it was a New York publisher. It was, a lot of it was ego and credibility then. Now I say go for self-publishing, go for Amazon, Kindle. We actually had a course. I was just looking up at coachdeb.tv if the tab was still there, that we had a course that I had a friend in the business that taught people how to publish their book on Kindle. So by the time this gets broadcast, perhaps that tab will be back up about publishing. And it has all the information on going that route. And that's probably what I recommend more than anything for my clients. Either I recommend them to Morgan James Publishing, and I tell them Coach Deb sent you. They'll give you a really good deal because I've been with them since the beginning. And they're not just a publisher, they're more of an entrepreneurial publisher. So you maintain all of your rights. So that way, traditional publishers own your rights if you have other products and other courses. And they require you to go on book tours, which are just a waste of time. Whereas Morgan James works with you. So them I recommend if you want to go through the traditional publishing route. If you just want to bang out a book and get it out there, especially if it's like your book where you've got to update it continuously, then just go Kindle. More people are buying Kindle than anything. In fact, my mentor recently in the influence and persuasion industry talked about how he was disappointed in his last book because the hardcover books didn't sell as much as they used to. And yet he knew they should have, just based on his client base alone and his list alone. And I asked him a question. I was like, well, what about Kindle? Because I actually bought your book on Kindle. I didn't buy the hardcover. Who buys hardcovers anymore? I move way too much these days to buy hardcover books. They're heavier to ship, all of that. But yet that's the stuff that counts in their, bestseller publishing book count. And I think that the entire publishing industry needs to change to incorporate things where people are buying the Kindle books and have it all count for what your sales are. And I know that will happen, and that will be the trend. I'll predict within the next 2 years, book publishing counts for bestseller status will absolutely be more so heavily weighted on Kindle books that are downloaded than any type of hardcover book. I mean, bookstores are going out of business left and right. It's one of the saddest things because I really love physical books, but it's just not practical anymore. People download songs and they download books. It's just the way of the future. So yeah, I think it's the quickest, easiest way, and it's very inexpensive to get your book up on Kindle. All you need is someone that has an expertise on formatting it for Kindle, get it up there, and boom, it's done. There's no excuses. You don't have to wait to be approved by some almighty publisher. Again, this is new media, right? You now have control of your information getting out there, whether you're an artist and you have songs, you go on MySpace and you get published that way, so people get exposure. You don't wait for the record company on high to authorize that you have talent. You have talent, let the fans speak for themselves. They will anoint you, right? Whether it's the Twitter queen or whether it's the musician or whether it's the author, expert, consultant, realtor, whatever it is, if you know you have value, get it out there, use new media channels all over the place, and that's how you'll dominate Google search engine. That's how you'll get more leads, traffic, clients than you can handle. I promise you, just use the new media channels.
Yo, dog, I got mad skills.
That's right.
I'm going social media. I'm going live. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Let me get my harmonica and my spoons out. You know, I'm from Louisiana. I got a little washboard I play, you know, spoons. All right, very cool. So you know, I was talking about earlier, how can regular entrepreneurs, right, business owners, people doing their thing, are there any aggregators, right, or tips or tricks? Like, I mean, I've learned push things out through Twitter, and then I got it linked to Facebook, and so at least, you know, it saves me a step. You know, right. And other little things like that. Do you recommend tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social? Are there other lesser known things that can streamline business owners?
Yes, I think that one of the things that's been around since Twitter, perhaps even before Twitter, when Flickr was one of the hottest picture sharing sites, and I still recommend people use Flickr because if anyone has an Apple TV, you can actually get other people's pictures on your TV. That's like my screensaver for my flat screen in the living room. So definitely use Flickr. That's one of the things. But friendfeed.com has been around, again, since before Twitter, and it's still around. And it's not really a tool that people talk about. Like, I just don't hear it. And yet it's one of the best free tools that's easy to use, and it's a set it and forget it. So the last time I actually logged into FriendFeed was probably about a year ago. And I log in every year for my birthday around MySpace and FriendFeed because that's when people are wishing you birthday wishes and you want to acknowledge them. Otherwise, I pretty much ignore those two channels throughout the year because they're not my industry. Now, if I was heavily promoting products in the Latino community, Spanish community, overseas, I would use MySpace, or if I was in the music industry. So our musician clients, we actually talk about them using MySpace. MySpace is not dead, but it's niche. It's specifically for people in the music industry. That's who is still using it daily, and that's their social media of choice. And the same thing, for some reason, in the Latin community, they love it. So if you have a product or service that reaches out to them, or if you're bilingual and you can communicate to that marketplace, huge opportunity for you. And I guarantee your competitors are ignoring it because they think, oh, it's all about Facebook. And yeah, it is. You know, there's 1 billion people on Facebook, so certainly it's the channel to pay attention to actively. But man, if you're in those two industries and you can serve them, you will have the edge because your competitors are virtually ignoring it. And it's the same thing like FriendFeed. So just go to friendfeed.com, set up all your social media channels that they ask for, YouTube, Flickr, Facebook, Twitter. You set it up. And then what it does is it pulls in your feed from those channels, and it will also broadcast it to other places. There's also a widget that you could put on it. And I always put the widget from Twitter on my homepage for websites, because then your homepage is always being updated every time you tweet. So that's why I probably like Twitter the best, because it feeds out to all of these other places without me having to go in there manually and update it and change it.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm logging in as we do this. I have a FriendFeed account. I hadn't logged in so long I forgot my password.
Yeah, especially if you've changed it. Like I used to have one password for everything, and then I would change it, you know, for the more frequent, like Facebook and Twitter. But then, yeah, those other lesser known, or like MySpace was a different password. FriendFeed, same thing. I was like, what was my password last year or 2 years ago, and the last time I logged in? But yeah. Yeah, so if you have a password management, there's like the 1Password for Mac. What did I used to use when I was a PC user? There's another one too. Those are also very helpful tools to just organize all of your password. And then I just created an Excel spreadsheet, and then I would password protect that with 1Password, and then I would just put in all of my logins, the links, username, just to organize my entire social media presence, because it could be overwhelming. But if you use those different tools to organize you, it will be much easier, much faster and much more simplified.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. I'm doing it. I'm multitasking, but men aren't as good as women at multitasking. So like you have this pause. Like you can, if you had your video on, you can see the smoke coming out of my ears.
What I love about that as a business coach, Wes, is that you're taking action, and hopefully everyone who's listening to this podcast is doing the same thing. They're going to friendfeed.com and they're logging in. And hopefully when I said coachdeb.tv, they went there and they can see my face in front of them and they get a visual. But yeah, that's the other thing too, is the biggest thing as we're wrapping up here. The biggest thing that I tell people with social media, yes, use it. And yes, dominate it for SMO, social media optimization. But the biggest thing you want to do is drive people to your blog, your website where you have an opt-in. When you go to coachdeb.tv, the homepage is just a video so people get to know me. It's a media interview when I'm on the news. And then to the left is an opt-in box. Give them an awesome bribe, something that they'll want in exchange for the email address, and get them on your list so you can regularly communicate with them, regularly give them videos, regularly give them tips and information that will help them in their business, because that is the only thing that you own. All these other social media sites are great, but they can close down, and we've seen them. I mean, I've been doing this for 7-8 years, specifically social media wise, like ever since the term was coined, and social media sites shut down on a regular basis, even really popular ones. So don't rely on having your list in the social media channels. Everything you should do should subtly whisper, drive them subtly to your blog or overtly, but do that on a regular basis, and build your list there, because that's the only thing that you own, you have control over, and that's how you stay in regular contact with your leads, prospects, and clients and friends.
Ain't no subtle. We say get on over. Go see Coach Deb. Go to Sales Whisperer. All right, very nice. So yeah, I got my friend feed updated. I've got SMO. All right, now I've got Morgan James Publishing. I'm gonna give them a shout because I'm working on the Sales Whisperer book. All right,
awesome.
Very productive day for considering this is the 4th of July. Huh? This is Freedom Day for entrepreneurs, right? Because we got to pick Coach Deb's brain.
I love this holiday. This is absolutely my favorite holiday of the year. Love it. Yep.
Amen. Well, I spent 9 years in the Air Force. I appreciate it. I know saw what these guys did to give it to us, right?
Exactly.
To have this freedom. We take it for granted. It doesn't mean, I don't know if our founding fathers necessarily wanted us to go get just totally drunk and shoot fireworks all day long. You know, I mean, maybe a few drinks, maybe a few fireworks, but be productive, right? Keep them in mind. So, hey, I appreciate you visiting. So where's the best place for folks to find more information on you? What's your hub? Obviously, it's at Coach Deb. That's you on Twitter.
Right.
And your main website these days?
Is coachdeb.tv. It's all video. Typically, they're media interviews that are pulled in, tons and tons of social media tips for them, social media secrets, and everything is to keep them on the cutting edge. That's the whole goal of coachdeb.tv, all video-based. And then for social media channels, it's either Coach Deb, that's the moniker, or when I have to use my real name, it's Deb Cole. So Facebook, Deb Cole, LinkedIn, it's Deborah Cole.
Yeah, Cole, C-O-L-E.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you, ma'am. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too, and happy Independence Day.
Hey, you too. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Wes.
Bye.
Aloha.
There you have it, my interview with Coach Deb. Coach Deb lives here in Southern California, less than an hour from me, but she has traveled the world since I've known her over the last several years, and we've only met a handful of times. But because of our relationship on social media, we communicate regularly. And when I bought her book and started following her, I saw her in person at an Infusionsoft conference in San Diego, and I felt like I already knew her. And over the years now, it's led to a closer relationship. Now she's come on the podcast. We're working on an interview series where she brings me on. So all because she took the effort to put herself out there, which you can do as well. So I encourage you, start writing that book. Get active on social media, but use it only the way that you're comfortable with. I don't always post, multiple times a day. I usually have a little funny I put out in the morning. Then if I see something in the news, I might comment on. Other than that, I may go a week or more without adding additional stuff. So sometimes you may want to outsource that. I have an assistant that will sometimes post on my behalf, certainly when there are events that I am doing. But if she puts something out there that she writes, I have her put her initials so people don't think it was me. Okay, I still want to be authentic. I think you need to be authentic, but you need to look into social media and see how you can use it to grow your business. Another way you can grow your business is just be better at sales. And along those lines, I wanted to announce that I just released in the last 2 weeks my No More Sales Duds program. In that program, it will help sales managers and business owners advertise, recruit, hire, onboard, train, motivate, and retain top sales talent. There is a process to it, and I outline it in great detail. And if you order No More Sales Duds, you get access to my 30-day sales growth program, and that is 30daysalesgrowth.com. And that is where, over a 30-day period, I outline and give specifics on how to get better at the profession of sales, which it is. Selling is a profession. I think it's a calling, just like being a teacher or a doctor, an architect, or a policeman or fireman. And those that treat selling as a profession make more money. They have more satisfaction, okay? And they help more people, enjoy and utilize the products or services that you offer. So check those two out, nomoresalesduds.com and 30-day sales growth. Now go speak softly and make a big sale. Thank you for listening to the Sales Whisperer podcast at www.thesaleswhisperer.com.